Hey everyone, it's the end of 2024, and I know we're all probably thinking about those resolutions, but before we get to all that, let's do a deep dive into something a little different, cybersecurity.
Ooh, sounds fun.
Yeah, you gave me a really interesting stack of news articles from December. It looks like we've got international espionage, everyday scams, even some new laws businesses need to keep an eye on. So,
Lots to talk about.
yeah, consider this your personalized cybersecurity briefing tailored just for you. What do you say we jump right in?
Let's do it.
Okay, so one story that really stood out to me, that Russian tanker, the Eagle S, caught red-handed messing with undersea cables in Finnish waters. Missing anchors, talk of a shadow fleet. It sounds like a spy movie.
It does, doesn't it? Like something out of a thriller.
But this is serious stuff, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Beyond the intrigue, it all points to this growing concern about undersea cables and how vulnerable they are.
Right.
We're not just talking about bundles of wires here.
Right. It's like,
They're the backbone of the internet.
yeah, it's how everything's connected.
Exactly. Huge amounts of data, financial transactions, even military communications.
So what happens if those cables get cut or seriously disrupted? I mean, it's got to be more than just slow internet, right?
Way more. We could be talking major economic disruption, security risks. Imagine financial markets frozen, communications down during a crisis.
Oh, wow.
Chaos, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And this tanker, part of a Russian shadow fleet, older ships, ownership hidden, often used to move things under sanctions.
Adds a whole other layer to it. Makes you wonder, was this random vandalism or something more calculated, strategic, like a test run? What do you think?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's got cybersecurity experts and policymakers worried for sure. Hard to say for sure what their motives were, but it's a wake-up call about how vulnerable our critical infrastructure is, especially in our interconnected world.
Yeah, for sure. Something to watch, definitely. Okay, let's shift gears for a minute. The 2025 National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, big price tag, $895 billion.
Yeah, big one.
What are some of the key cybersecurity parts of that bill that you think, our listeners should really know about?
Well, a few things stand out. There's $15 million to support internet freedom in Iran, which is basically helping people get around government restrictions.
Interesting. So funding to, help people bypass censorship. I also see there's money to replace Chinese telecom equipment. What's that all about?
Right, $3 billion, actually. This is about a past decision by Congress that kind of left a lot of smaller telecom companies in a bind. They were told to replace cheap Chinese equipment with pricier American-made stuff. But the funding wasn't there, so they faced shutdowns. This new funding is supposed to fix that.
Makes sense with all the concerns about security and relying on, foreign tech. And there's also something about increased oversight of spyware use on service members and diplomats.
Yeah, that's about transparency and accountability, making sure spyware is used responsibly within the law and ethical guidelines.
Okay, so checks and balances. And finally, there's that new AI Security Center at the NSA. So is that about, countermeasures, defending against AI-powered attacks with AI getting more and more advanced?
Exactly. As AI gets stronger, so does its potential for misuse in cyber attacks.
Mm-hmm.
The NSA is trying to stay ahead of the curve with this center, coming up with ways to fight back against those threats.
It's like an arms race, but with algorithms instead of missiles.
In a way, yeah.
But there was something that didn't make it into the NDAA, right? Talk about potential limits on Section 702 surveillance powers. What is that, and why is it important that it wasn't addressed in the bill?
Section 702, it's part of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. It lets the government tap into almost any company's networks for surveillance. There's been a lot of debate about how far this power goes, if it goes too far, and there were efforts to add some limits in the NDAA.
So by not dealing with Section 702, those powers stay as they are.
For now, yes. And that worries some privacy advocates. They say such broad surveillance, without clear limits or oversight, could be used to violate people's privacy.
Yeah, I see. A balance between national security and privacy. A tough one, for sure. And even if you're not, in government contracting or anything, these changes can affect the tech world and eventually all of us. Worth paying attention to. Now, this Marriott hotel story and the data breach have been dragging on for years.
It has. The Marriott Starwood situation really shows how long the fallout from a data breach can last.
And that even big companies can mess up when it comes to cybersecurity. This breach happened way back in 2014, found in 2018, and now, end of 2024, the FTC's finally stepping in.
A long road, yeah. But there are lessons here, even if you don't run a hotel chain. First, being proactive with security, even before mergers or acquisitions. Marriott didn't really check out Starwood's security before buying them, and that led to this huge breach.
Ouch.
Yeah, learned the hard way. and over 344 million customers affected. That's a ton of personal data potentially out there.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
Names, addresses, passport numbers, credit card info, all the stuff someone could use for identity theft. And who knows what else?
So what's the FTC doing about it now after all this time?
They finally ordered Marriott to put a solid security program in place. Encryption, multi-factor authentication, tighter access controls, the whole 9 yards.
Sounds like a complete security makeover.
Basically, yeah. And it's not just a one-time thing. They'll be reporting to the FTC regularly, doing security assessments, notifying them immediately if anything else happens. They're under the microscope for the next 20 years.
20 years.
It shows how seriously the FTC takes this. It's a warning to companies of all sizes. Preventing breaches is important, but you got to have a plan for when things go wrong and be ready to face the consequences.
So the takeaway is don't mess around with data security, especially when you've got millions of customers' info at stake. Now let's talk about something that affects everyone, no matter what phishing scams. And man, are they getting tricky these days.
They really are. The crazy thing is, the basic idea is the same. Trick someone into clicking something bad or giving up info. But the ways they do it are changing all the time, making them hard to spot.
Right, like those Google Calendar scams from earlier this year. People getting tricked because Google automatically adds invites. Did you ever fall for any of those?
Luckily, no. But I know people who did. It proves that anyone can get caught, even if you're tech-savvy, especially when they use platforms we trust.
And it's not just Google Calendar. We're seeing them use Google Forms to make fake alerts, even putting in people you know to make it seem real.
It's getting harder and harder to tell what's legit. And that's why they work. They use our trust, our curiosity, even wanting to help. Doesn't matter if you're a tech whiz or a huge company, phishing's a threat we all got to watch out for.
Yeah, no one's immune. And I remember reading about those employees at General Dynamics who got tricked, and their benefits portal got hacked.
Right. It shows that even companies with top-notch security can be vulnerable if their employees aren't trained to spot these things. Human error, it's often the weakest link.
So, bottom line, always be careful. Double check before you click anything. Be suspicious of messages you weren't expecting, and if something seems off, ask questions.
Definitely good advice.
Okay, last topic for this part. Cryptocurrency. North Korean hackers stealing a massive $1.3 billion this year.
Yeah, double what they got in 2023. Cryptocurrency theft is a big problem. $2.2 billion stolen globally in 2024.
Wow, that's insane. What makes cryptocurrencies so tempting for hackers?
Well, the payoff's huge. Crypto can be worth a lot, and transactions are usually irreversible. Once they have the funds, they're gone.
And I'm guessing the lack of regulation in the crypto world makes it even easier for them.
Definitely. Security varies a lot between platforms and exchanges, and there's often no clear legal path if something goes wrong. It's a bit of a Wild West out there.
So, big risks, despite the potential for big rewards.
Exactly. Anyone thinking about investing in crypto needs to do their homework. Choose reliable platforms with strong security and take steps to protect themselves, strong passwords, two-factor authentication, and keeping your crypto in secure wallets.
Good advice. We've covered a lot, from global espionage to everyday cybersecurity habits and all those changing regulations. It feels like cybersecurity is touching everything these days.
It really is. And the main takeaway, staying informed is key. Whether it's understanding what happens if those undersea cables get cut or spotting the latest phishing tricks, knowledge is power in our digital world. Keeping your systems safe is super important as businesses rely more and more on digital systems, and that's where turnkey cybersecurity can really help.
Yeah, we're here to help small businesses just like yours make sure they're safe and sound in this crazy world of cybersecurity. And we offer a whole suite of services specifically tailored for you. So that's ensuring CMMC compliance and doing penetration testing. We also run vulnerability scans, and we can help you develop a comprehensive risk assessment.
And it doesn't stop there, right?
No, it doesn't.
We handle incident response, should the unfortunate happen, and we guide you through migrations like GCC. We just want to make sure your transitions are smooth and that you're secure.
It's all about peace of mind, right? You focus on what you do best, running your business, and we'll make sure that your digital world is safe and sound. So what are some things people can watch out for so they don't fall for these scams?
Well, one big red flag is when they try to rush you. A lot of phishing emails try to make you panic and act fast, like click this link now or your account will be suspended or you missed a delivery.
Yeah, like...
They want you to act without thinking. So if something feels off or too good to be true, It probably is. Always double-check who sent the email, hover over links to see where they really go, and never give out personal info unless you're absolutely sure you're on a legit website.
It's like they know we're all busy and kind of, skim things sometimes.
Exactly.
Another thing I saw in these articles, it's about how where you live or work can actually affect your cybersecurity. That's not something you think about every day. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. It's about how important it is to think about internet and cell service when you're choosing a place to live or even where to set up your business. I
All
mean,
right, like,
we depend on being connected so much now
Hmm.
for work, for school, just to stay in touch.
Yeah.
It's crucial to make sure your internet and cell networks are reliable and secure.
We've all been there, right? Bad internet, dropped calls. It's frustrating. But it's more than just annoying. It can really mess things up when we're so reliant on being connected. So, what should people look at when they're checking out connectivity options?
We'll start with research. Look into the different internet providers in the area, see what their reputation's like for reliability, speed, customer service, and think about your own needs. If you work from home or your business does a lot of video calls or uses a ton of data, you need a solid connection with enough bandwidth.
Otherwise, it's like trying to work with one hand tied behind your back.
Exactly. And don't forget about cell service. Look at the coverage maps from different providers. Make sure you'll have a strong signal at home or at the office, especially if you rely on your phone for work or emergencies.
It's like, the modern version of checking if a neighborhood has good schools or public transport. It's basic, but essential for our digital lives.
Exactly. And it's only going to get more important as more people work remotely and we rely on technology even more.
Speaking of remote work, there was that story about Amazon putting the brakes on their Office 365 rollout because of security concerns. Seems like it's always this tug of war between convenience and security, right?
It is. Cloud platforms like Office 365 are super convenient, especially for remote teams. But when you put your data and work stuff in someone else's hands, there's always some risk.
So it's like weighing the good against the bad.
Yeah, finding that balance. And what Amazon did, even though it might be a pain in the short term, shows how important security is, even with big companies like Microsoft. No software is perfect, and everyone needs to be careful and watch out for those security holes.
It's a good reminder not to just trust anything blindly, no matter how popular it is or who made it. Before we move on to our last segment, where we'll look at the bigger picture and what's coming next, anything else from these articles that our listeners should know?
Oh, one more thing about cryptocurrencies. Besides the theft, which we talked about, there's the environmental impact of mining them. Mining Bitcoin and stuff uses a lot of energy, and that's got people worried about the carbon footprint and how it affects climate change.
Right. It's easy to forget that all this digital stuff has a real world impact. We've got to think about those things, especially when it comes to like how sustainable things like cryptocurrency really are.
Absolutely. It's complicated, no easy answers, but it's something we need to talk about as we keep using and relying on these technologies.
All right, we're back for our final segment. We've talked about all these specific threats and weaknesses, but now I want to get your take on the bigger picture, like what's coming next. What are some of those trends, maybe even new threats, that we should all be keeping an eye on as we head into 2025?
Well, one thing we can't ignore is AI, artificial intelligence. It's going to change a lot of things, including cybersecurity, but there's some real challenges too. As AI gets more powerful, it becomes a bigger target for hackers. We're already seeing it used for things like making phishing scams even more believable, even creating new kinds of malware.
So it can be used to defend against cyber attacks, but also to make them worse. Kind of scary, huh?
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, definitely. And as AI keeps developing, we got to be ready for a whole new type of cyber threat where they can use AI to get around our defenses and exploit weaknesses we haven't even thought of yet.
That sounds like a lot for cybersecurity folks to handle. Are we ready for this new era of AI-powered attacks?
That's the big question. The cybersecurity industry needs to step up its game, and fast. We need to invest in AI-powered security tools ourselves, come up with new ways to spot and stop these AI-driven attacks, and really build a culture of constant learning and adaptation. The bad guys aren't standing still, neither can we.
So we got to be thinking ahead, not just about what's happening now, but what might be coming next. And it's not just about technology, right? People are a part of this too.
Absolutely. Human behavior will always be a part of the cybersecurity equation. As attackers use AI to make even trickier and more believable scams, we have to be extra careful online. Being suspicious of emails and links, using strong passwords and multi-factor authentication, and staying up to date on the latest threats, Those things are more important than ever.
It's all about being informed and aware, especially with things changing so quickly.
Couldn't agree more. We need to give people and organizations the knowledge and the tools to protect themselves in this increasingly digital world. Everything from basic cyber hygiene to advanced training for IT pros and cybersecurity specialists.
So looking ahead to 2025 and beyond, how do you feel about cybersecurity overall? Optimistic? Concerned?
I'd say I'm cautiously optimistic. The threats are real, they're evolving fast, but so are the ways to fight back. The key is to stay informed, be proactive, and never underestimate the importance of human vigilance. We can't just rely on technology to save us. We have to be smart and careful ourselves.
I like that, cautiously optimistic. It means we need to take these threats seriously but not be paralyzed by fear. Like you said, knowledge is power. And if we stay informed and take the right precautions, we can be safe and confident in the digital world. Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive into cybersecurity. Thanks for sharing your expertise with us today.
Happy to do it. And remember, everyone, staying safe online is a team effort. We all have a part to play in protecting ourselves and each other.
And to all our listeners, thanks for joining us on this journey. We hope you found it helpful and maybe even a little bit empowering. Stay vigilant, stay curious, and stay safe out there. Until next time, this is The Deep Dive, signing off.